Good morning. It's the Recovery NIV Bible. Um, and I'm trying to figure out my way through this and what we're going to do. I think I'm going to focus just in on the meditational portion. So there's going to be Sunday meditation. And this is in Genesis. So it's saying to read Genesis 2:25, which is, the man and his wife were both naked and they felt no shame. Step one. And then here's the reading. So, healthy shame, toxic shame. Shame is the emotion which gives us permission to be human. Shame tells us of our limits. Shame keeps us in our human boundaries, letting us know we can and will make mistakes and that we need help. Our shame tells us we are not God. Healthy shame is the foundation of humility. Unfortunately, shame as a healthy human emotion can be transformed into shame as a state of being. As a state of being, shame takes over one's whole identity. Once shame is transformed into an identity, it becomes toxic and dehumanizing. Toxic shame is unbearable and always necessitates a cover up, a false self. The Bible describes shame as the core and consequence of Adam's fall. It suggests that Adam was not satisfied with being his own being, with his own being. He wanted to be more than he was, more than human. He failed to accept his essential limitations. He lost his healthy shame. Before the fall, the man and the woman were both naked and not ashamed, and that's chapter 2, verse 25 of Genesis. Nakedness symbolized their true and authentic selves. They accepted who they were. There was nothing to hide. They could be perfectly and rigorously honest. But once they chose to be other than who they were, they became naked and ashamed, and they went into hiding. That's chapter 3, verses 9 and 10 of Genesis. Like Adam and Eve, so many of us refuse to accept our real selves. We try to create more powerful selves or false selves, or else we give up and become less than human. This results in a lifetime of cover up and secrecy. This secrecy and hiding is the basic cause of suffering for all of us. So, within that first two chapters, they have these life connections. So, after chapter 1, verse 31, God saw all that he had made, and it was very good. And there was evening, and there was morning, the sixth day. So we are, and here's the connection. We are of supreme value to God. He created us in his own image, which means that we all have the stamp of God's being in us. God pronounced his work good, but after the sixth day, when he created humans, he said it was very good. That's how God thinks of us and how we could think of ourselves. I changed should from could, or could from should, because I don't like the word should. Don't want to should on nobody. And then there's another life connection from chapter 2, verse 2. By the seventh day, God had finished the work he had been doing. So on the seventh day, he rested from all his work. And God blessed the seventh day and made it holy, because on it he rested from all the work of creating that he had done. Since God is God, he doesn't get tired, yet he rested. Why? Perhaps because he knows there is value in rest. Not rest in the sense of collapsing into bed after, at the end of the day, of busyness and fretting over other people, not sleeping to avoid stress and conflict. Instead, God is showing us the value of rest as a choice, choosing to do nothing, to be quiet, to reflect, to be with ourselves and with God. That's a good one. Excuse me. And then finally, chapter 2, verse 24. For this reason, a man will leave his father and mother and be united to his wife, and they will become one flesh. This one verse explains why most of us in recovery, oh, this one verse explains why most of us are in recovery, and I completely identify with this. Because of alcohol abuse or some other dysfunction, we couldn't complete the process of bonding with and separating from each of our parents. Just now doing that. The emotional part of leaving is far more important and less likely to have occurred than the physical leaving. Recovery helps with this aspect of leaving, letting us make conscious choices based on what is right and healthy, rather than on our experience with our parents. Yeah. Truly have forgiven and let go of each and all negative experiences with my parents. Forgive them. I've accepted their humanness, and I've accepted my responses to it when I was a kid and making, horrible choices based on those experiences. Just forgiving them, forgiving me. It's all forgiven. So that's it. I know I'm calling this 12 minutes, but we're just at 7, and that's plenty. And I'm thinking I'm going to stick with this. I'm going to be reading the recovery portion of this Bible, and if you want to follow along, like I read uh, all of Genesis 1, 2, and 3 in preparation for reading these recovery meditations. So if you want to do that yourself, you want to read the full Bible text, and then you can listen to me doing this stuff. I don't know. This may or may not work out. I'm rolling with it. I kind of like it. I mean, just even that, making that one little connection of, one of the primary reasons of why I am in recovery is because of that resistance to maturity from separating from my parents and the experiences that I had with my parents. Because they have been dead and gone for a very long time. My dad's death is what precipitated me hitting bottom and ultimately seeking recovery. And then my mom died, 3 years later. And that really anchored me into recovery. So, really, their two deaths are very instrumental in the foundation of my recovery process. But it's been, almost 3 decades of coming to terms with all of those experiences from 0 to 30, 1 or 2 or 3, and you know, I can confidently say that I've done the step work sufficiently enough to have forgiven my father and to have forgiven my mother and to have forgiven myself for making choices when I was a very young child to a young adolescent and a young adult. And, I can now finally say that I am emancipated. It's an interesting word. Um, and I am now my own man who have had those experiences and who have processed them and have healed. Healed. Past tense. Healed. It's good. So, anyways, if this is helpful, great. If not, great. I don't know. Just plugging along. You guys have a great day. Thanks.